welcome back to the Great Scott Podcast. Today I am joined by Anne Spielberg, who is the younger sister of legendary director Steven Spielberg. Anne is a writer and an author herself who wrote the hit movie Big in 1998, starring Tom Hanks, which she also was the producer of. She has also written for such stars as Cher, Pierce Brosnan, and Harrison Ford, just to name a few. And I'm pleased to welcome Anne Spielberg today on the Great Scott Podcast. It's so nice to have you. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you, Mike. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm in my
Uh,
home, you're in your home.
I know, isn't technology great?
Isn't it amazing? You're in Kansas, right?
I'm in Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri.
Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yeah. So I have to first off ask you, has movies always been a part of the Spielberg household?
From the time that I was, excuse me, about 7 years old, yes, movies were in the making, whether you liked it or not. My brother got hold of my father's camera and learned to use it very quickly. And he would stage different things to scare us and then film our reactions, like putting a skeleton in the closet and having a color wheel going around and opening the door, pushing us inside. And he, when we burst open the door coming out, he'd get our reactions of our face. Um, then he dressed us up as mummies with toilet paper wrapped around our faces and stuff and filmed us walking like Boris Karloff. Uh, when we saw movies, he'd sometimes want to reenact them, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Sure, yeah.
The original one, he made a paper mache pea pod and put it under my bed and filmed that reaction. And then, so we, sort of unwillingly at first and then willingly became co-workers of his, especially when he started making actual movies. And he was about 12 years old when he made his first one.
Okay. So which film was it that he made? Was it Firelight? I know there was Firelight that was shown that your dad had rented a movie theater to be able to show that.
Right, the Phoenix Little Theater. Uh, that was actually done when he was 15, going on 16. The first one he made was a Western that he made for to get his merit badge in photography in the Boy Scouts. And I was the passenger in the stagecoach that's robbed by the bad guys, and they take my jewelry box and run through the desert, and the sheriff pursues them. uh, there was actually a stagecoach up at this restaurant called Pinnacle Peak Patio that was on blocks, but you could rock it back and forth and make it look like it was moving. So my father did the rocking, Steve did the filming, and we had dust thrown into it. It looked like we were moving fast. And they lost all my jewelry, but that was part of what happens in the arts, I suppose. That was his first one.
So I know that also, besides movies, it's music that was also big inside your house as well. Your mom was a concert pianist,
Yes.
and so not only music, movies. I'm sure there was a lot of music going on as well.
Music was a big, big part of our lives. We were from, or I was born in Philadelphia and grew up in Haddonfield, New Jersey. And there was a hurricane that we were getting the tail end of. My father filled up all the bathtubs with water and the sinks, and we lost power. And my mom lit candles and played the piano through the hurricane, playing Beethoven and Bach. And meantime, the wind is whistling through the door and the shutters are blowing off the house. But we were calmed down just by having the music there. And my brother and I also collected movie soundtracks. We started that when we were living in Phoenix, probably from the time I was about 8 years old. When we'd see a movie, we would go out and pull our allowance money together. I think an album was maybe like $2.50 back then, an LP. So we started quite a collection.
Do you still have those soundtracks from you when you were a kid?
He has the majority of them. I
Oh,
still
okay.
have, yeah, it happened. He left home first and he took most of the records with him. But kept on collecting. I probably have maybe like 30 soundtracks, but our collection back then, I think we had about 60
Okay.
soundtracks.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think of movies today? I know there was no such thing as CGI back in the day. I know AI is big, and there was no computers. So, do you like watching movies today?
It depends on the movie. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't go to movies as often as I did when I was growing up. Uh, I'm not into the Marvel comic book movies that much, and I prefer things that have more character driven. But I also like good science fiction, and I love epics. If there's a great epic movie, I watch a lot of movies at home, and I'm an Academy member, so I do have to go out and see
Oh yeah, yeah.
movies. And you find gems, really great ones, and you find not so great ones. So I'll wait towards like the last 3 months of the year to really get into movie going mode. But if there's a film that only should be seen, like The Odyssey and
Sure.
Disclosure Day on the big screen, then I'm definitely out there with my popcorn. It's still a great experience. I love going into the theater, getting my popcorn and a drink, sitting down, watching the coming attractions. Uh, Movies were so important growing up. Every Saturday, my mother would drop Steve and I off at this theater called the Kiva Theater in Scottsdale, Arizona. And they'd have a double feature plus cartoons plus a couple of old serials that they ran from the old days, like oh, I can't remember what they were called. It was a spaceman who could fly through space with the helmet on. Captain, I think it wasn't Captain Marvel. Anyway, so that was our Saturdays. And then when Cinerama came along, we had the Kachina Theater. And I remember the first one that I saw, I think was How the West Was Won and the Battle of the Bulge. Uh, there was maybe The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm was shown at that theater, but I'm not sure if that was in Cinerama or not. But those were, I loved them. I loved going to the movies. I find there's so much media now, entertainment available that it's hard to decide what you're going to watch and what you're not. There's so many TV channels and so many series on that I'm really behind in contemporary culture quite a bit because there's just too much. And
Yeah.
I have a tendency to go back, my husband and I, to watching the good old movies on TCM.
Yeah, yeah. The Turner Classic movie. Yeah, sure.
Classic movies, right, right. If Lawrence of Arabia comes on, even if it's in the middle of the movie, I'm sitting there, I'm watching it.
There's one movie that they show every so often on TCM that's just my favorite called It's a Mad, 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 Mad
You're
World.
kidding. I
I
love that.
love,
I love
yes.
that. I love that. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall
Yeah, me
with
too.
all
Me
those
too.
cast
Yeah.
members. And it's one of my husband's favorite films.
Yes.
What a cast that was.
I
Can you
know. Sid
imagine?
Caesar, Milton Berle, Buddy Hackett, Mickey Rooney. Well, I won't go through all of it, but like you say, it was quite the cast. Yeah.
Right. Was it
So
Terrence
let's
Thomas?
Terry Thomas. Yep, absolutely. Yep. So let's talk about Big. Big was one of the first films that I ever got to watch that my parents showed me when I first got into film, or I mean, into watching films. And I remember thinking, this Tom Hanks guy is not bad. He's not a bad actor. And I love the Zoltar scene. I love it where he's going to the Zoltar. By the way, did they let you take home that Zoltar after the film?
No, actually, they did not.
Oh,
Gary
okay.
Marshall, Penny Marshall's brother, bought the Zoltar.
Okay. Gotcha. But so I have to say, Big was one of my favorite films, and after that, I got to watch Forrest Gump as well. Those were the two first films I ever watched.
How old were you?
I would have been, well, I was born in 1990, so not too long after the film came out. So I would have been about 7 or 8.
78 to watch Big. Did you get it at that age?
I got most of it, yeah, over at that age, yeah. A guy wanting to grow up and hurry up to grow up and be fast, and then finds out, oh, this wasn't what it was all meant up to be. Yeah,
Right, right, right. You have to grow up in your own time. It's the
absolutely,
lesson learned. And Forrest Gump also is one of my favorite movies.
absolutely, yeah,
Tom is an amazingly versatile actor, and we were so lucky to get him in Big. He was not the first person we had in the cast. We originally started with Harrison Ford, and we pursued that for a while. We couldn't find a director, and then Harrison had another commitment, and he had to drop out. And then we found a director. Almost every director turned it down. We went to Mike Nichols also, of course, he
sure,
turned it
Mike,
down.
yeah,
Uh, and Jim Brooks was a good friend of Penny Marshall's, and she had just directed her first feature, Jumping Jack Flash, with Whoopi Goldberg. So we got Penny, and Penny's dream was to work with Robert De Niro. So we cast Robert De Niro as Josh, and Penny put us to work rewriting the script to make it more urban, and which we were not that happy about, changing the tone of it and the neighborhoods and what kind of a kid he was. But we did it. But as we were in pre-production in New York on that and casting the other parts, working with Bobby, the studio and his agent, they couldn't make the deal. It was a mad. I don't know if it was over money, but the deal fell through. So we packed up everything and moved back to Los Angeles. And it was about 6 months later that we discovered Tom. And those other two actors I love them both. They're incredible talents, but I can't imagine Big being anybody but Tom Hanks. I can't
he was made
imagine.
for that role. Yep, I
He
agree.
was
He was
made
made.
for it.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. It's just amazing. I mean, just you talk about how versatile he is. I know he really studies his part right before going into a film, and that's
Very
what makes
much.
for,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's what makes him one of the greatest actors there is of our generation. Absolutely. Yeah.
He worked very closely with David Moscow, who played young Josh, and reversed roles, watching his mannerisms as he played and grown up. He watched every mannerism that the young David had, and got the eye movements, got the body language, got his
It's just incredible.
inflections.
Yeah. Just incredible what the man can do. Absolutely. So let's talk about your book called The Iceberg and the Penguin.
Yes.
And you had released that on Facebook, and now I think it's going to come out next year in 2027.
Right, in April on Earth Day in 2027.
Okay.
It has a global warming theme. It's a climate film, climate film. It's a climate change book. I actually wrote that a number of years ago, and after a trip into Chilean fjords where I saw a glacier calve, and I was looking at the icebergs that were floating by, and one in particular caught my eye, and I sort of gave it a personality. And it looked like he didn't want to be leaving home. He looked like he wanted to go back, and he was sort of like on his own. And I tend to give inanimate objects human emotions, including rocks. When I kick a rock by accident, I say, excuse me, but just in case there's anything in that spirit world. Uh, it just put the first line of the book in my head. There was a little iceberg that was born too soon. He wasn't ready to leave home yet. And it was over the course of a couple of years that I had the story in my head pretty completely, but I hadn't put it on paper. That's always hard to sit down and commit yourself to writing, screenwriting, every kind of writing, to sit there and make that commitment that you were going to go with this. Uh, Eventually, I told it to a couple people, and they said, "You've got to write this and make this into a children's book." And so I wrote it, but I couldn't find a book agent or a publisher. So I put it in a drawer for some time. I showed my friends, and actually I did do a sort of a focus group. I went on a trip to Antarctica and I took a copy of the story with me, a couple of copies, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it there. But because I was in Antarctica, I had to have the story about the iceberg with me. And I went into the library on the ship. It was only 100 passengers on the ship and about 100 crew and expedition leaders. And I put the two copies that I brought with me on a little table in the library, and I left the room thinking maybe somebody will read it. And it was just 8.5 by 11 paper stapled together, about 4 pages. And when I went back a few hours later, both copies were gone. So I decided, I wonder if the ship would make copies and put it in their library. So I went to one of the concierges, so I'm not sure what her title was, but I asked if this was possible, and nobody had ever requested that from them before. But they said, well, let's think about it. Let us read the story, and then we'll make a decision and come back in a couple of hours. So I did. And when I did, there were three people there, crew members, and they all had tears in their eyes. They all had read it. And they said, we'll make 10 copies and put it in the library. And when those were gone, they made 10 more. And when those were gone, they made 10 more. And by the end of the cruise, 70 copies had been made and taken. And they asked me to make myself available to talk to people. They put my name on it, and my extension number on the ship. So if anybody wanted to talk about the story or talk to me, that was my payment. And it was the best, unwitting focus group that I can imagine. But they're all grown-ups that have read it, and I've only recently had kids read it. What I did, though, still several years go by and it's back in the drawer, and I've done nothing with it. And I decided one day, I really need this to be read. You write a screenplay, you want it to be made into a film. That's the whole reason. If you write a story for a book, you want somebody to read the story. So I typed the whole thing on Facebook. I just posted it there. And I got so many incredible reactions. And I also, through one woman, Renee Missel, suggested a publisher for me. And she sent it to the publisher, who's an independent publisher in Boston, Pierce Press. And they were very interested. So we started this collaborative effort, and now the book is a reality. Since we're not being, on camera, I'm not supposed to reveal the cover yet, but I will give you
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I will hold this up to the camera. Don't take a picture, but can you see this?
Yeah, yeah. That looks nice.
So It's actually a becoming a reality. We have a mock-up of the book be ready in the next couple weeks. The illustrations, we had a great illustrator named Daniel Fior. And there's a lot of work involved in publishing a book, which I was totally unaware of. So I'm learning a new language and new things. And it's kept me busier than I have been since I've written my last script. Because there's a lot of social media to do to promote it. The author has to do a lot of the marketing, the majority of the marketing, and be available. And the publisher provides the hardware and the contacts, but the author goes into the bookstores or goes into the libraries or schools, and it's word of mouth, and you hopefully get reviews. A lot of reviews you have to purchase. A lot of magazines like Publishers Weekly are not that easy to get into, and some reviews you have to pay to have a review published. So we're on that track right now and moving along.
I smell another feature film.
So it would be, if anybody did this, it would be a short.
Oh,
It would make a good short.
yes, it would. I agree. Absolutely. So I have to ask you, Anne, being as successful as you guys have been, what has kept you guys humble and down to earth people? Unlike maybe some of these other stars that have gone on to big success that aren't so humble. But what has kept you and your family so humble?
Yeah, I think it's like my parents and our upbringing. We're a middle class family from originally Cincinnati, Ohio. My parents come from there, and Steve was born in Cincinnati, and then New Jersey, Arizona. We always were a very friendly, open family, and nobody had. My mom had, I won't say a big ego, she had a big personality, but not a big ego at all. But it sounds so funny to say it about yourself, but I think we're just nice people. I have two younger
Absolutely.
sisters, Sue and Nancy, who Nancy's a documentary film producer. Sue had done marketing and merchandising. She's retired now. They have kids and grandchildren, and we're all very close. We text because they're now all three of my siblings are now on the East Coast, and I'm the only one left on the West Coast. So we have a ongoing family texting every week so that we're never out of touch with each other. And we love to talk about the past and talk about what we're doing. We don't talk business that much.
I know that also you guys are of the Jewish culture. Did you guys grow
Yes.
up doing Hanukkah or even now or do any of the Jewish culture stuff?
Yeah, we did Hanukkah. We weren't allowed to do Christmas. We wanted Christmas because everybody in the neighborhood was, we were the only Jewish family in our neighborhood. So our house was the only dark house during the Christmas season, the only one without lights on it. And we used to beg our parents, can't we have like blue and white lights? Those are the colors. And nope, no, we're Jewish. We have Hanukkah. So yeah, we were traditionally Jewish family, not an Orthodox family, but traditionally Jewish in that we did Passover and Hanukkah. And but my mother let us color Easter eggs.
Oh,
So she, wanted you to want the fun that the other kids are having. And
yes.
unfortunately, my birthday is Christmas Day. So it was very difficult to ever have a birthday party on my birthday. I had to wait until because every family is together, all my friends are with their families for Christmas. So I would celebrate my birthday maybe in February sometime, when I could get the kids together.
So you share your birthday with another Jewish person.
Yes, yes, I'm honored.
So, Anne, I have one more question for you, and you kind of covered it maybe a little bit as we were talking, but Is there any advice you would give to someone who wants to get into film that maybe your brother or you give to aspiring maybe filmmakers or future actors?
It's very difficult, but you have to be passionate about it and you have to realize the difficulty. And nobody realizes the difficulty when they go into it. It's very hard to get jobs. It was very hard for me when I started out. It took me several years of attempting things before I could get an agent. So I had a foot in another world. I took jobs outside the industry and would buy time and then spend 3 or 4 months doing nothing but writing because I had to pay the rent and I couldn't work and write at the same time. I'm a daytime 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. writer. It's my schedule. And I would say to always keep pursuing it, to know that you're going to hear a lot of no's and to know how wonderful and precious the yeses are. And to, if you do make a success of it yourself, to always look to mentor somebody else because it's something that I do very often. And I judge in the Motion Picture Academy Student Academy Awards. And I love seeing young filmmakers' works and being able to give critiques and help them out.
Very good. Well, thank you, Anne, so much for your time and very nice to meet you. God bless you.
And you too, Mike. It was really a pleasure.
Well, thank you so much. Be well.
You too.